We have breaking news out of Vancouver. The Canucks have landed the top European free agent this offseason. We'll discuss the player coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news out of the Vancouver Canucks organization. We now have confirmation that top European free agent and former KHL star Andrey Kuzmenko will be a member of the Vancouver Canucks for the upcoming 22-23 NHL season. Now, of course, because of his age and everything, he will get a one-year contract. The negotiations shouldn't be too complicated. Likely going to be around $925 on a one-year deal. He's 26 years old. Put up 53 points in 45 games this past year, and during the regular season in the KHL, had an additional 14 points in 16 playoff games. Not overly big, but he's not really small either. He's 5'11", just over 200 pounds. Looks like he's a pretty intriguing guy who should be able to get into a top six role. I know many feel that his game should translate well to the NHL. We've seen a lot of these in the past seem to either be boom or bust. We've seen players like Artemi Panarin come over at a little bit of a later age and absolutely flourish. And then you've seen other players like we saw Vadim Chipashev in Vegas. We've seen Mikko Lehtinen sign with the Leafs, and they didn't work out at all. And even though they had tremendous amounts of success over in Europe, it just didn't work in the NHL. But some people feel that he has a greater chance. I guess only time will tell here if that's going to be the case. Now, of course, getting a guy who should be able to be a top six forward for a year on an entry-level deal will certainly give the Canucks some cap flexibility, because we are expecting some players to be traded. I mean, lots of rumors out there. We don't know who's going to go yet until the deals get done, but we know Patrick Allred and Jim Rutherford. There's been lots of speculation they might move JT Miller. They could possibly move Brock Besser or some middle six guys like a Tanner Pearson, Jason Dickinson. There's lots of names out there that are expected to be on the move, and they're looking for some cap flexibility. Well, this should help for this year, depending on who they all move. But the word is that he's likely going to be needing a top six role to have a chance to succeed based on what we've heard about Kuzmenko. As a player, I don't really think he's the kind of guy that would really flourish well in a fourth line role, probably not in a third line role either. He doesn't really seem to be a checking kind of guy. There was a little bit of a scouting report based on NHL insider Chris Johnson that he posted on Twitter earlier. I know myself, I've seen a few highlights for this player, but not a ton. So the word is on Kuzmenko that he's strong on the puck and good at protecting the puck down low. Doesn't have a lot of pace to his game, though, so he's more effective as being like a half-ice player. So it's not really a rush kind of guy, dangerous off the rush. So I would think that, a power play, for example, would probably be his specialty. Or once they get the cycle game going and get the puck down low, that's going to be where he'll flourish the most. So you certainly want to probably put him with some line mates that are skilled and at the same time can protect the puck and create some space for each other. That would be where he'd fit. Obviously, you don't want to really play him with some grinders. That probably will be a risk for disaster. Now, some people will say there's really no risk in this contract. It's a one-year ELC. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, they tried. It's, not a ton of money on a long-term deal. And to that extent, I concur, I agree. But at the same time, if they do move out other players, expecting Kuzmenko just to slide in and produce at the same or better pace with less money, that could be risky if it doesn't work out. So we will see, but obviously Kuzmenko's made his way around the NHL here. There's about 5 or 6 teams that were pretty much in on him from the beginning. At one point earlier, further back into the season, I think it was probably about 12 to 15 teams, but then they got whittled down to about 5 or 6 once he came over to North America and was having more meetings. Apparently, we've seen online through his social media posts that he had met with Edmonton, Vegas, and then Vancouver over the past week. But apparently it was about a week ago Friday that he had met with Vancouver Brass in Michigan. And that is kind of where the bulk of the work was done to convince him to come to Vancouver. Now, apparently the Canucks management and coaching staff, including Bruce Boudreau and Patrick Allred, had made an effort to try to get an extra meeting with this guy and his agent in Michigan, and they drove a long ways to get there. So Bruce Boudreau had a 6-hour drive to get there. Patrick Allred had a 4.5-hour drive to get there, and that seems to be, from what we're hearing from guys like Rick Dhaliwal, Darren Dreger and others, that that's when they kind of sealed it, but it wasn't really official. I think in Kuzmenko's mind, that's when he was impressed enough to want to pick Vancouver, but we didn't really get confirmation until after. Of course, he still went to Vancouver on a scheduled visit on his tour the following week, and it was just more of a formality, I guess. So obviously these guys have worked hard to get in front of him and worked hard to convince him Vancouver's a good spot, that they can give him the role he wants, and that long term they can elevate his salary. If I guess they'll have to show them their proof in the pudding here as they continue to look for cap flexibility, because as of today, it will be challenging long-term cap-wise, but I know they want to make some moves to make sure that's not the case. But he's young enough that if they can get even 4 or 5 years of production out of this guy, it could very well work out. It's really difficult to say. According to Rick Dhaliwal, he also made comments saying that Alvin and Rutherford had their eye on this guy for a few years now, even dating back to when they were both working with the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. He's somebody that they've had interest in and were fond of as a player, and we're hoping they'd have an opportunity to bring to North America over the last few years. And now the opportunity has presented itself, and clearly they've pounced on it to win this free agent over to come to the Canucks organization instead of one of the other competitive teams. So I guess we'll see where this goes. Like I said, it could be boom or bust, but I know this will help them probably feel more comfortable making some other trades this offseason. I hope they just don't trade a bigger name out of Vancouver, and hope that he can produce their productivity at a cheaper rate when we don't know that yet. It could work out, but it could set the Canucks back if it doesn't, depending on what else they do. So I hope they are smart about this and that the player works out and they make other moves accordingly. So let me know your thoughts on the Kuzmenko signing in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.